What if I told you that hidden among the moons of our solar system are silent witnesses to a history far older than we can imagine? Worlds that orbit in the shadows, carrying scars of impacts, secrets beneath their frozen crusts, and perhaps the remains of civilizations long forgotten. We gaze at the planets, the giants that dominate the night sky, but it is their moons, mysterious companions circling endlessly, that may hold the most astonishing truths. For centuries, humanity has looked upward and wondered if we are alone. But what if the answer is not out there among the stars, but right here, much closer, circling quietly in our cosmic backyard? Tonight, we embark on a journey across forgotten moons, places most people know only as faint names in textbooks, but which scientists and explorers now recognize as some of the most intriguing worlds ever discovered. These moons may not just be lifeless rocks. They may be time capsules, storing traces of civilizations erased from history. They may be natural archives of life, memory, and technology. And if that is true, then our solar system is not a sterile collection of planets and satellites, but a library, an ancient museum, waiting to be unlocked. In the next 2 hours, you will hear about moons that defy explanation, moons with strange orbits and impossible shapes, moons that seem hollow, moons with oceans beneath their crusts, and moons whose ancient myths suggest they were once homes to gods. You will hear stories of scientific anomalies, myths that echo across cultures, and discoveries that even today push researchers to whisper about possibilities too extraordinary to ignore. Stay with me, because once you hear this story, you may never look at the night sky the same way again. When we think of exploration, we imagine planets. Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. These are the names that dominate headlines. Yet, beyond those giants lies a hidden truth. Our solar system is a kingdom of moons. There are more than 200 known moons orbiting the planets, and each one is a world in its own right. Some are larger than Mercury. Some hold vast underground oceans. Some are covered in thick atmospheres. And some show geometric patterns and surface features that appear disturbingly artificial. The idea that moons could preserve traces of civilizations may sound extraordinary, but consider this. Planets are active worlds. They have plate tectonics, weather, erosion, volcanic eruptions. They erase their histories over time. Moons, by contrast, are often geologically quiet. They are frozen, still, preserved for billions of years. If an ancient civilization had left artifacts, ruins, or even simple markers, the safest place for them would not have been a planet's surface, constantly reshaped, but a moon's, stable, untouched, enduring. Let us begin by considering just how strange our moons are. Jupiter's Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, is bigger than Mercury and has its own magnetic field, something no other moon possesses. Beneath its icy surface, scientists believe it hides a vast saltwater ocean. Europa, another moon of Jupiter, is scarred with cracks that hint at a liquid ocean beneath. Saturn's Enceladus shoots water vapor into space, plumes that suggest hydrothermal vents, the same kind of vents on Earth where life thrives in the darkest oceans. Triton, Saturn's largest moon, has rivers and lakes, not of water but of methane, and an atmosphere thicker than our own. These moons are not barren. They are dynamic, alive in ways that challenge our imagination. And then there are stranger ones still. Phobos, the innermost moon of Mars, which seems to be hollow, its orbit decaying in ways that puzzle astronomers. Iapetus, one of Saturn's moons, with a giant equatorial ridge stretching thousands of kilometers like a deliberate construction. Miranda, a shattered moon of Uranus, whose surface looks like it was torn apart and stitched back together. And Triton, Neptune's captured moon, which moves in the wrong direction, orbiting opposite to the planet's rotation. Each of these worlds raises questions. Each contains anomalies that resist simple explanations. And if we view them not just as natural satellites, but as potential archives, then suddenly, the mystery of moons deepens. The ancient civilizations on Earth often tied their myths to the heavens. The Sumerians described the Anunnaki descending from the skies. Ancient Indians spoke of celestial vehicles called vimanas. The Greeks told stories of Selene and Artemis, goddesses of the moon. The Chinese recorded strange lights and shadows moving across the lunar disk thousands of years ago. Were these simply myths? Or were they fragments of memories, distant echoes of a time when humanity looked to the moons not as mysteries, but as places once inhabited? Consider this. If intelligent civilizations arose in the distant past, either here on Earth or elsewhere, they would have needed stable places to leave their mark. Earth's surface is dangerous for artifacts. Over millions of years, weather and geology erase all signs. But a moon, cold, lifeless, untouched, would preserve them. The moon of Earth, for instance, has no atmosphere to erode structures, no rain to wash them away. Anything placed there could last millions of years. Could our own moon be holding evidence, hidden beneath dust and craters, of something older than our history books tell us? And what about moons farther away, beyond our reach? In 1959, Soviet scientist Iosif Shklovsky suggested that Phobos, one of Mars's moons, might not be natural at all. Its orbit decayed in ways that seemed unnatural. Its density suggested it could be hollow. Shklovsky speculated that it might be an artificial satellite, perhaps a relic of ancient engineering. Mainstream science quickly dismissed the idea, but the question lingers. Why does Phobos behave so strangely? And why does it look like a battered, artificial rock rather than a natural body? These questions are not limited to Mars. In 2007, the Cassini spacecraft sent back detailed images of Saturn's Iapetus. What it revealed shocked many. Iapetus has a giant equatorial ridge, a mountain chain running straight around its middle as though carved by design. Half the moon is dark as coal, the other half bright as snow, as though painted. And its overall shape is not quite spherical. It looks almost like a constructed object, a two-tone ball with a band around its waist. Some have called it the Death Star moon, because it so closely resembles a giant artificial satellite. Could these be coincidences, natural quirks of geology and physics? Certainly. Nature is capable of strange designs. But when we put these anomalies together, the hollow moon theories, the geometric ridges, the improbable orbits, the pattern becomes harder to dismiss. It becomes a puzzle, one that may suggest we are missing a key part of the story. If there were civilizations before us, civilizations that rose and fell long before humanity existed, where would they leave their traces? Not on Earth, where fire, water, and time erase everything. They would leave them where time barely moves, on silent worlds, orbiting forever. They would leave them on the forgotten moons. And so, as we begin this exploration, remember this: the moons of our solar system are not dead rocks. They are guardians of history. They are the overlooked pages of a cosmic book we are only beginning to read. Some may be natural, some may be something else entirely, but together they whisper the same haunting possibility: that we are not the first to walk beneath the stars, and that others may have left their story written in stone, ice, and silence, waiting for us to uncover. Long before telescopes, long before spacecraft, humanity still watched the skies. Every culture, every civilization, from the valleys of Mesopotamia to the temples of India, from the deserts of Egypt to the forests of Mesoamerica, lifted their eyes to the heavens. They saw the moon, they saw the wandering stars we now call planets, and they told stories. But these stories were not just poetry. Many of them speak of watchers, gods, or beings who dwelled on or came from the moons above. Take the Sumerians, among the first civilizations we know. They recorded their myths on clay tablets more than 4,000 years ago. In their texts, the heavens were alive with beings known as the Anunnaki, who were said to descend from the skies to shape humanity. Some tablets describe the sky itself as divided into layers, with the gods dwelling not far above. Though modern scholars interpret these as symbolic or religious, one cannot help but wonder: were they describing encounters with something they observed in the night sky, something orbiting above them? In India, ancient texts known as the Vedas and the Mahabharata describe celestial vehicles called vimanas. These were said to move between the heavens and the earth, piloted by beings with knowledge beyond human understanding. Descriptions of vimanas speak of great shining crafts that could land, ascend, and even orbit. Some scholars dismiss these as mythology, but others note the detail: accounts of machines rising into the sky, glowing like fire, disappearing into the stars. Could these stories be echoes of an age when humanity witnessed technology beyond its own? The Greeks too had their tales. Selene, goddess of the moon, was not just a distant figure. She was said to ride her chariot across the night sky, watching all below. Artemis, another lunar deity, was seen as both protector and punisher. The moon, in Greek imagination, was not lifeless. It was alive, a place of power, a domain of gods. And in their stories, mortals sometimes reached it, guided by divine beings. In China, astronomers recorded their observations meticulously. As far back as 1500 BCE, records exist of strange lights moving across the lunar face, shadows that crossed in patterns too regular to be mere chance. Ancient Chinese star maps detail not only the positions of stars and planets but also anomalies, objects that appeared suddenly, lingered for days, and vanished. To them, these were omens. But to us, reading these reports thousands of years later, they raise an unsettling thought: what exactly were they seeing? The Mayans and Incas also tied their myths to the moon. They believed the moon was a goddess who influenced not only crops and tides but the fate of civilizations. Some carvings depict strange shapes in the sky, sometimes circular, sometimes elongated, often near depictions of the moon. To the people who carved them, these were sacred symbols. To us, they may be hints of a memory long forgotten. It is easy to dismiss mythology as imagination. Yet across cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, the same motifs appear: watchers in the sky, beings descending from above, luminous shapes near the moon. Why would so many civilizations invent the same imagery unless they were drawing from shared experience? Even medieval Europe recorded unusual sky events. In the year 776, monks at the Abbey of Fulda wrote of seeing two large, luminous shields moving across the heavens during a battle. The chroniclers described them as if they were massive, round discs. Were these auroras? Atmospheric phenomena? Or were they something else, silently circling above while humanity looked up in awe and fear? A few centuries later, in 1561, the residents of Nuremberg awoke to a terrifying spectacle. The sky filled with glowing orbs, cylindrical shapes, and crosses of light. Witnesses described them as if two armies clashed above the city, the shapes darting and striking at each other before fading. Artists captured the scene in woodcut prints, which survive to this day. Historians usually call it a celestial phenomenon, a mass hallucination, or simply religious imagery. But if you look at those drawings with modern eyes, they bear an eerie resemblance to spacecraft. Could this be one of the earliest recorded mass sightings of orbiting watchers? Even in Africa, oral traditions preserve stories of beings who came from the sky. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, spoke of the star Sirius and its hidden companion star long before modern telescopes confirmed its existence. They claimed knowledge passed down from sky beings who taught them about the heavens. Among their stories were mentions of watchers dwelling on companion worlds, circling the stars. Could those companion worlds have included moons? The farther we look, the more patterns emerge. Civilizations that never met, across continents, told similar stories. Beings from the heavens, luminous disks, watchers on the moon. Perhaps they were myths. Perhaps they were memories of encounters with something circling above us, now long forgotten. Modern science often interprets myths as allegories for natural forces. But myths are also repositories of memory. They encode what a people experienced, whether directly or through visions. If countless cultures saw lights in the sky, if they believed the moon and other moons were homes to gods, then perhaps they were preserving fragments of encounters we have yet to understand. Think of the human brain. Memories distort over time, reshaped into stories, colored with imagination. Yet within them lies truth. If ancient peoples saw an orbiting craft, or the reflection of something in the heavens, how would they describe it without the language of technology? They would speak of gods, chariots, shields, and fiery disks. What we now interpret as mythology may have been their best attempt to describe what they saw. And here is the haunting thought: if myths of watchers are based on real encounters, then they may point us to where those watchers resided. Not far away in distant galaxies, but close by, on the forgotten moons circling silently above. Moons that may still hold traces of those who watched humanity's rise from the darkness. This is why mythology matters in the search for the forgotten moons. It is not just ancient fantasy. It may be testimony, preserved across ages, pointing toward truths that science is only now beginning to rediscover. When we turn our eyes from Earth's moon to the small, distant moons of Mars, we step into one of the strangest chapters of the solar system's story. Mars itself has long fascinated us, with its red deserts, dried riverbeds, and the possibility of past life. But its two tiny moons, Phobos and Deimos, may hold even deeper mysteries. They are not grand worlds like Europa or Triton. They are irregular, jagged, almost like captured asteroids. And yet, their strange properties have led some scientists, engineers, and dreamers to wonder if they could be more than just rocks. Phobos, the closer and larger of Mars's two moons, is no giant. It is only about 22 kilometers across, smaller than many cities on Earth. Deimos, the smaller moon, is just 12 kilometers wide. To the casual eye, these are insignificant objects, mere rubble left over from the formation of the solar system. But appearances can deceive. What matters is not their size, but their behavior. Phobos, in particular, has baffled astronomers since the first close observations. Its orbit is shockingly low, only about 6,000 kilometers above Mars's surface. To put that in perspective, our own moon is nearly 60 times farther away from Earth. Phobos circles Mars in just 7.5 hours, moving so quickly that if you stood on the Martian surface, you would see it rise in the west and set in the east multiple times each day. No other moon in the solar system behaves quite like it. Even more puzzling is the fact that Phobos's orbit is decaying. It is slowly spiraling toward Mars, inching closer with every century. Astronomers calculate that in 30 to 50 million years, it will either crash into the Martian surface or break apart into a ring of debris. Why is its orbit unstable? Natural moons usually find balance. But Phobos seems destined for destruction, like a satellite running out of fuel. Then there is the question of its density. In the 1950s and 1960s, Soviet scientists studied the orbit and mass of Phobos. They found it was surprisingly light for its size, suggesting it might be porous, or even hollow. In 1959, the respected Soviet astrophysicist Iosif Shklovsky analyzed its motion and proposed a shocking idea. Perhaps Phobos was not a natural moon at all, but an artificial satellite left by some unknown intelligence. Shklovsky suggested that its hollow nature could explain its low density and strange orbit. To him, Phobos might have been a massive, lightweight shell, a structure, not a rock. His paper caused a storm. Western scientists dismissed the claim, insisting Phobos was natural. Yet the idea refused to die. Even today, questions remain. When spacecraft such as NASA's Mars Global Surveyor and ESA's Mars Express imaged Phobos, they revealed a surface covered in long, parallel grooves. Some scientists argue these grooves are from impacts, ejecta blasted from Mars that scarred Phobos. But others notice how evenly spaced, how strangely organized they appear, almost like scoring or artificial markings. They stretch for kilometers, etched into the moon's body, and no consensus exists on how they truly formed. Deimos, the smaller companion, is quieter but also odd. It orbits farther away, with a smoother surface. Its shape and behavior suggest it may indeed be a captured asteroid. But together, Phobos and Deimos do not quite fit Mars's story. How did two such irregular bodies end up orbiting there, when Mars otherwise lacks a system of moons? Some scientists think they were captured asteroids from the outer belt. Others wonder if they were once part of Mars itself, fragments thrown into orbit by a colossal impact. But again, the details do not align perfectly. Their orbits and densities resist easy explanations. And then we have the myths. Ancient cultures often tied Mars to war. The Greeks named it after Ares, the Romans after their god of battle. The two moons, Phobos and Deimos, were named for the sons of Ares, Fear and Terror, who rode alongside him in myth. How curious that these tiny moons, invisible to the naked eye from Earth, bear names that evoke dread. Could it be coincidence? Or did ancient people know something more? In 1877, American astronomer Asaph Hall discovered Phobos and Deimos using the powerful telescopes of his time. His discovery shocked the scientific community. But the strangest twist is this. More than a century earlier, in 1726, the writer Jonathan Swift, author of Gulliver's Travels, had written about Mars having 2 moons. In his story, the fictional Laputans, advanced astronomers, knew of 2 small satellites orbiting Mars. He described their sizes and orbits with surprising accuracy. How did Swift imagine this? Was it coincidence, a stroke of genius? Or had knowledge from some older source survived, hidden in myth and literature, waiting to resurface? Science fiction aside, the mystery of Phobos deepened with close-up missions. In 1989, the Soviet Union launched 2 spacecraft, Phobos 1 and Phobos 2, designed to study the Martian moon in detail. Phobos 1 was lost en route due to a command error. Phobos 2 successfully arrived, but then suffered a sudden, unexplained failure as it prepared to deploy landers onto the moon's surface. Just before contact was lost, Phobos 2 transmitted a strange image, a long, cigar-shaped shadow across the Martian landscape. Soviet officials offered no clear explanation. For some, it was simply a glitch. For others, it was evidence of something extraordinary. Perhaps the very watchers Shklovsky had speculated about 30 years earlier. Modern missions continue to study Phobos. Japan's JAXA space agency is preparing to launch the Martian Moon's Exploration Mission, or MMX, to bring back samples. Scientists hope this will settle whether Phobos is a captured asteroid, a piece of Mars, or something stranger. Yet the questions linger. Why the grooves? Why the hollow-like density? Why the decaying orbit? Phobos is not alone in inspiring speculation. Earth's own moon has been the subject of hollow moon theories, especially after Apollo missions recorded seismic data that made the moon ring like a bell. But Phobos is even more suspicious. It is smaller, more fragile, more irregular. If it truly is hollow, it may not be a natural object at all. And if it is not natural, then who built it? And why? Some propose that if there were once ancient civilizations in the solar system, whether native or visiting, they might have used small moons as outposts. Moons are ideal for this purpose. They are stable, easy to land on, and offer a vantage point over the planet they orbit. An artificial Phobos would be the perfect observation post, circling Mars, watching across the ages. Deimos, quiet and less studied, could serve the same role. Its smoothness and distance make it less suspicious, yet some speculate it too could have been a station, its surface eroded over eons. Phobos and Deimos may simply be captured asteroids, their quirks explained by natural processes we do not yet understand. But if Shklovsky was right, if even a fraction of the hollow moon hypothesis is correct, then Mars has been home to something far more profound. It would mean that millions of years ago, long before humans, someone placed or constructed satellites around Mars. Someone wanted to observe, perhaps to guide, perhaps only to watch. And so we look to these tiny moons, circling endlessly, eroding slowly, keeping their secrets. They are not grand or beautiful like Europa or Triton. But perhaps that is the point. If you were to hide a relic, a probe, a memory of your civilization, would you put it on a place everyone expects, or on a small, unremarkable rock circling quietly in the void? Phobos and Deimos may be rubble, but they may also be vaults. Forgotten, silent, but waiting. And if one day a spacecraft drills into Phobos and finds not rock, but chambers, structures, or even fragments of technology, then Shklovsky's bold claim will be vindicated. The forgotten moons will no longer be forgotten. They will become the most important archaeological sites in history. Monuments not of Earth, but of the cosmos itself. Far beyond Mars, past the asteroid belt and the giant world of Jupiter, lies the magnificent realm of Saturn, the planet of rings. With its dazzling bands of ice and dust circling endlessly, Saturn has long fascinated astronomers and storytellers alike. Yet for all the beauty of its rings, it is Saturn's moons that hold the deepest enigmas. Titan, with its thick atmosphere and lakes of methane, often takes the spotlight. But hidden in the shadows of this system lies another world, one that may be the strangest moon of all. Its name is Iapetus. At first glance, Iapetus might seem unremarkable compared to Titan or Enceladus. It is not the largest moon, nor the brightest, nor the most geologically active. But as astronomers peered closer, they discovered that Iapetus defies almost every expectation. Its very appearance makes it look less like a natural body and more like something constructed, something designed. This is why some call it the Death Star moon. The first oddity of Iapetus is its two-tone surface. Half of it is dark as coal, the other half bright as snow. No other moon in the solar system has such a stark contrast. One hemisphere reflects sunlight brilliantly, while the other absorbs almost all of it. This strange yin-yang coloring makes Iapetus look as if it has been deliberately painted, half black, half white. Scientists debate the cause, perhaps dust falling onto its surface, perhaps ice migrating across its terrain, but no single theory fully explains the sharp boundary between light and dark. It is as if someone drew a dividing line across the world. Then there is the shape. Unlike most moons, which are roughly spherical, Iapetus looks oddly angular. It is not a perfect sphere, but something closer to a polyhedron, with flat areas and edges that give it an artificial appearance. As if that weren't enough, Iapetus carries a feature that defies imagination, a ridge that circles its equator. Stretching for more than 1,300 kilometers, rising up to 20 kilometers high in places, this ridge looks like a seam, a belt, or a wall running around the moon's waist. Nothing else like it exists in the solar system. It is as though Iapetus was built in two halves and then fused together. When the Cassini spacecraft flew past Iapetus in 2007, it sent back detailed images of this ridge. What they revealed was startling. The ridge is not a random pile of mountains, it runs almost perfectly straight, circling the entire moon like the edge of a coin. To some, it looks like the remains of colossal construction. Science suggests it might have been caused by ancient tectonic activity, or by material left over from the moon's formation. But no explanation fully satisfies. The ridge remains one of the great unsolved puzzles of planetary science. Arthur C. Clarke, the visionary science fiction author, once wrote that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Looking at Iapetus, one might add, indistinguishable from geology. For what if this ridge, this strange band encircling the world, is not a natural mountain chain at all, but a relic of engineering, an artifact left behind by a civilization long gone? Even more curious is Iapetus' orbit. Unlike most of Saturn's moons, Iapetus circles far away, 3.5 million kilometers from the planet. It takes over 79 days to complete one orbit, much longer than Saturn's other large moons. From this distant vantage point, Iapetus can observe Saturn's entire system. Its rings, its moons, its storms. It is almost as if it was placed there deliberately, to watch. Some researchers have pointed out another peculiarity. Iapetus always shows the same face toward Saturn, just as Earth's moon does to us. This is not unusual for moons. But combined with its distance, its strange ridge, its two-tone coloration, and its angular shape, the picture becomes more intriguing. Iapetus seems too odd to dismiss as coincidence. The comparison to the Death Star is not just poetic. When the Cassini images were first released, many noticed how much the moon resembled the fictional space station from Star Wars, a spherical body with a band around its middle, pockmarked with craters that looked disturbingly like battle scars. Of course, Iapetus is not a weapon. But the resemblance reminds us how human imagination often mirrors what we see in the cosmos. Sometimes, fiction and reality meet in unsettling ways. What makes Iapetus even more mysterious is its place in ancient lore. The moon was first observed by Giovanni Cassini in 1671, and it was he who gave it its name, after one of the Titans of Greek mythology. In myth, Iapetus was the father of Prometheus, the Titan who gave fire to humanity. Symbolically, this connects Iapetus to knowledge, to civilization itself. Was this naming merely coincidence, or an echo of something deeper, a recognition that this moon symbolizes hidden knowledge waiting to be uncovered? There are also intriguing theories about Iapetus' origin. Some scientists propose that it may not be a natural moon at all, but a captured object, drawn into Saturn's gravity long ago. Its unusual orbit and distant position lend weight to this idea. If true, then Iapetus might have formed elsewhere, perhaps even in the outer solar system, before finding its place around Saturn. Could it have carried with it traces of ancient material, or even evidence of civilizations that once thrived in places we can only dream of? Speculation aside, the physical facts of Iapetus are enough to ignite curiosity. Its massive ridge, its stark colors, its strange orbit, all remain unexplained. And when natural explanations fail to satisfy, the human mind naturally reaches for others. Could Iapetus be a megastructure, a shell built to protect or conceal something within? Could it be a vault, a library, or even a relic of ancient engineering, long abandoned? Some fringe theorists even suggest that the ridge could be a kind of docking structure, the remains of a vast ring that once surrounded the moon, or the collapsed walls of an artificial habitat. Others imagine it as the scar of some colossal machine, a remnant of construction on a scale we can barely comprehend. These ideas may sound fantastical, but so too did many scientific truths before they were proven. We must remember, for most of history, people believed the moon was a perfect, smooth sphere. Only when Galileo lifted his telescope did we discover its mountains and craters. For centuries, people thought the planets wandered through crystal spheres. Only modern science revealed the vastness of space. What seems impossible today may be the accepted truth tomorrow. Iapetus challenges us to think differently. If it is natural, then it is one of the strangest natural objects in the solar system, a reminder that nature can surprise us with designs that appear artificial. But if it is not natural, if it is artificial, then it is perhaps the greatest discovery of all time. Proof that we are not the first civilization to touch this solar system. Consider this. If a civilization wished to leave behind a marker, a message to the future, where would they place it? On Earth, where erosion and tectonics erase everything. On Mars, where dust storms bury the land. Or on a cold, distant moon, where time stands still, where structures could endure for billions of years. Iapetus, circling far from Saturn, untouched by atmosphere or geologic upheaval, would be the perfect choice. As our spacecraft travel farther and our instruments grow sharper, we may yet discover the truth about Iapetus. Perhaps future missions will land on its ridge, drill into its crust, and uncover only rock and ice. Or perhaps they will find cavities, chambers, signs of design. Until then, Iapetus remains a riddle carved into the heavens, a silent world that seems to whisper, "Look closer." It is easy to look at Saturn's dazzling rings and forget the shadows beyond. But those shadows may contain our greatest revelations. And among them, Iapetus waits, half dark, half light, carrying secrets we have only begun to imagine. When we think of oceans, we think of Earth, our vast blue seas, covering more than 2/3 of the planet, cradling life for billions of years. Yet Earth may not be the only world with oceans. Across the solar system, far from the warmth of the sun, orbiting the gas giants, lie moons whose frozen shells conceal something astonishing: global oceans of liquid water. These are the ocean moons, hidden realms beneath ice, where heat and chemistry might still nurture life. If ancient civilizations once existed beyond Earth, these secret seas may have sheltered them, protecting their traces for millions of years. The most famous of these worlds is Europa, one of Jupiter's 4 large Galilean moons. At first glance, Europa looks like a cracked marble, smooth, bright ice streaked with reddish lines, as though someone scratched across its surface with a cosmic blade. Unlike cratered, ancient moons, Europa's surface is relatively young, constantly reshaped. What lies beneath explains why. Scientists now believe Europa hides a vast liquid ocean beneath its icy crust, an ocean with more water than all of Earth's seas combined. How can water remain liquid so far from the sun, in a place so cold that surface ice is frozen solid? The answer is tidal heating. Europa is caught in a gravitational dance with Jupiter and its sibling moons, tugged and stretched as it orbits. This constant flexing generates heat within the moon's interior, enough to melt ice deep below. What results is a global sea, sealed under kilometers of frozen shell, warmed from within. For scientists, Europa is one of the most promising places to search for life. Hydrothermal vents at the bottom of its ocean could resemble those on Earth, where, in the absence of sunlight, entire ecosystems thrive on chemical energy. But beyond life itself, consider something else. If an ancient civilization ever evolved here, it might have left traces not on the frozen surface, but in the depths of that hidden sea. Structures, tools, or even ruins could be preserved for ages in the cold darkness, undisturbed by erosion or time. Then there is Enceladus, a smaller moon orbiting Saturn. Barely 500 kilometers across, it would fit comfortably inside the state of Arizona. Yet despite its size, Enceladus is one of the most surprising worlds in the solar system. In 2005, the Cassini spacecraft observed giant geysers erupting from its south pole, jets of water vapor and ice shooting hundreds of kilometers into space. These plumes revealed a subsurface ocean beneath the ice, and more than that, they carried hints of complex chemistry, including organic molecules, into space. Imagine that, a tiny moon, far from the sun, spewing water into the void like a cosmic fountain. Cassini even flew through those plumes, sampling their contents. What it found was extraordinary: evidence of salts, hydrocarbons, and particles consistent with hydrothermal activity. In other words, Enceladus has the ingredients of life. And if life could exist there today, then life could have existed there long ago. If civilizations ever arose in hidden seas, Enceladus may hold the proof, locked beneath its frozen crust or drifting in its plumes, waiting for us to catch it. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, is often included among the ocean worlds, though it is stranger still. Titan has lakes and rivers, but they are not of water, they are of liquid methane and ethane. Its thick atmosphere, orange and hazy, conceals a surface that is eerily Earth-like, with valleys, dunes, and rain. But beneath Titan's icy crust, scientists suspect another hidden ocean of water mixed with ammonia. Two worlds in one, a frozen methane Earth above, and a secret water sea below. If any moon could shelter traces of civilizations, Titan offers twice the possibility. Structures buried beneath ice, and relics perhaps preserved in methane lakes where erosion is slow, where time drips by like liquid fire. Consider what makes these ocean moons so important. Earth's surface changes constantly. Our oceans churn, our continents drift. Over billions of years, almost everything is erased. But on Europa, on Enceladus, even on Titan, stability reigns. The ice above is a shield, preserving what lies below. If ruins exist, they might still be there, intact, waiting. There is also the matter of survival. If an ancient spacefaring civilization once thrived in the solar system, where would it hide when catastrophe struck? A planet struck by asteroids, or racked by climate collapse, would not be safe. But beneath kilometers of ice, in the oceans of Europa or Enceladus, life could endure untouched. Moons like these may not just be relics of lost civilizations, they could be sanctuaries, still inhabited in ways we cannot yet imagine. When Cassini flew past Enceladus and sampled its plumes, some scientists quietly whispered the unspoken thought: what if this is not just chemistry, but the byproduct of biology? What if, within that ocean, something still breathes, still builds, still remembers? And if so, would we recognize its traces? Europa, too, continues to call us. NASA is preparing the Europa Clipper mission, set to launch in the 2020s, to orbit and study this icy moon in detail. It will scan the ice, measure the ocean, and search for signs of habitability. But many already wonder, what if it finds more than chemistry? What if it finds hints of intelligence, not life as we know it, but artifacts buried deep beneath the crust, untouched for millions of years? The possibility stretches the imagination. Civilizations on Earth rise and fall in the blink of an eye compared to cosmic time. But a civilization in Europa's ocean could last for eons, shielded from asteroids, climate shifts, and solar flares. If they ever existed, they might not be forgotten. They might still be there, hidden in the black waters beneath the ice. And what of Titan? Some researchers speculate that its methane lakes could host a form of exotic life, not based on water at all, but on liquid hydrocarbons. If so, then Titan could harbor civilizations stranger than any we can conceive, civilizations that left traces not in stone or metal, but in chemical patterns etched into lakes and dunes. To us, their ruins would look like natural shapes, but to them, they would be monuments. The ocean moons remind us of a simple truth: water is life, but water also preserves. Ice seals and protects. And silence, in the far reaches of the solar system, guards secrets older than humanity itself. Imagine a future mission drilling through Europa's ice, descending into the dark sea below, only to find structures, geometric, deliberate, unmistakable. Or imagine flying through Enceladus's plumes and catching not just organic molecules, but fragments of artificial materials. The thought chills and excites in equal measure. We do not yet know what lies beneath the frozen shells of these worlds. But we do know this: they are alive in ways no one expected. They spout water into space, they conceal hidden oceans, they carry chemistry that looks suspiciously like the beginnings of life. Whether natural or something more, they demand our attention. They may hold not only life's origins but also its forgotten chapters. And so, Europa, Enceladus, Titan, they are not just moons. They are time capsules. They are vaults of history, sealed beneath ice, waiting for explorers brave enough to unlock them. If ancient civilizations once flourished beyond Earth, if they sought refuge from cosmic storms, their traces may not be scattered among the stars. They may be right here, on these silent, icy worlds, forgotten but not lost. Far beyond the shimmering rings of Saturn, wrapped in a thick orange haze, lies a world that feels strangely familiar, yet utterly alien. This is Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, and one of the most remarkable places in the solar system. Larger than the planet Mercury, Titan is not just a moon, it is a world of valleys, rivers, lakes, and weather. It is the only place besides Earth where liquids flow freely across the surface. But these are not rivers of water, nor lakes of rainwater. They are seas of methane and ethane, liquid hydrocarbons pooling under an atmosphere denser than our own. Looking at Titan is like gazing into a mirror of what Earth might have been in its earliest days. Before oxygen, before plants, before life as we know it, Earth may have looked something like Titan, covered in haze, its surface carved by rivers of strange chemistry. Scientists call Titan, the Earth that could have been, a frozen twin, evolving along a different path. But Titan is not only a scientific curiosity. For those who search for the traces of forgotten civilizations, Titan is a world of haunting possibility. The first thing that makes Titan extraordinary is its atmosphere. No other moon in the solar system has one like it. Its nitrogen-rich air, laced with methane, is so thick that a human could technically fly with wings strapped to their arms. From the ground, sunlight is dim and orange, filtered through dense haze. To walk on Titan would be like stepping into a dream, an alien twilight where the sun is a faint glow in the sky, and methane rain falls gently, pooling into rivers that flow toward vast seas. Those seas themselves are a mystery. On Earth, liquid hydrocarbons evaporate quickly, burned away by heat. But on Titan, at temperatures near -180 degrees Celsius, methane behaves like water does here. It forms clouds, rain, lakes, and seas. Imagine standing on the shore of Kraken Mare, Titan's largest sea, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Waves lap gently against the shore, but they are not waves of water. They are liquid methane, sloshing in a chemistry utterly alien to our senses. Now imagine civilizations not of water but of methane. Life, if it ever arose on Titan, would not breathe oxygen or drink liquid water. It would be something entirely different. Cells not of carbon-based water chemistry, but structures adapted to liquid hydrocarbons, molecules shaped by the cold. To us, such beings would be nearly unrecognizable, their technology incomprehensible. But to them, Titan would be paradise. If such civilizations once thrived, could they have left traces? The surface of Titan is geologically young, constantly reshaped by rivers and erosion. Structures might vanish quickly. Yet beneath the ice crust, scientists believe a hidden ocean of water mixed with ammonia lies deep below. A second world beneath the surface, warmer, shielded, perhaps stable for billions of years. Here, traces could endure. Here, ruins could wait. The Cassini spacecraft, which orbited Saturn from 2004 to 2017, transformed our knowledge of Titan. With the help of its Huygens probe, which parachuted down in 2005, we saw Titan's surface for the first time. What it revealed was astonishing. Riverbeds carved into icy ground. Rounded pebbles smoothed by flowing liquid. Drainage networks like those on Earth. And far in the distance, vast plains and seas, reflecting sunlight like glass. For a moment, looking at those images, it was easy to imagine we were seeing a photograph from some strange corner of Earth. Yet it was not Earth. It was a moon, 500 million miles away, shaped by alien weather. If Titan mirrors the Earth's early past, then perhaps it also mirrors its possibilities. Could civilizations have risen and fallen there in cycles we cannot yet comprehend? If intelligent beings arose in Titan's hidden ocean, might they have climbed upward, adapted to the methane seas above, built cultures that left behind chemical traces? Unlike Earth, where erosion and plate tectonics erase history, Titan preserves. Its frigid cold locks time in place. Artifacts, structures, or even molecular patterns could remain undisturbed for millions of years. There are also curious signals. In 2010, scientists analyzing Cassini data found mysterious patches on Titan's seas that seemed to appear and disappear. They called them magic islands. Were they floating chunks of ice? Methane bubbles? Or something else, phenomena we do not yet understand? To those inclined toward mystery, these islands suggested activity, motion, perhaps even design. To scientists they were puzzles. Either way, Titan was not static. It was dynamic, alive. Consider, too, the symbolism. Across cultures, Saturn has often been tied to cycles of time, endings, and hidden knowledge. In astrology and myth, Saturn is the keeper of secrets, the stern teacher. Its largest moon, Titan, carries that theme. To the Greeks, the Titans were primordial beings, older than the Olympian gods, overthrown but never forgotten. Titan, the moon, lives up to its name. It is old, massive, and shrouded, hiding its truths beneath layers of haze and ice. If there were civilizations before humanity, Titan would be an ideal vault. Its distance protects it. Its thick atmosphere shields it from radiation. Its icy crust preserves what lies beneath. Imagine explorers one day drilling through the surface, breaking into a cavern, and finding not random ice, but geometry, straight lines, angles, structures that no natural process could form. Imagine diving into Kraken Mare and discovering artifacts on its dark floor, preserved like shipwrecks at the bottom of Earth's seas. Some dreamers even suggest Titan could still harbor intelligence, not human-like, not even animal-like, but something strange, existing in the chemistry of methane. If so, we may be surrounded not only by forgotten civilizations but by parallel ones, alive today, watching us silently as we watch the stars. NASA and ESA already plan to return. The Dragonfly mission, scheduled to launch in the 2030s, will send a rotorcraft to fly across Titan's surface, hopping from dune to dune, analyzing chemistry, seeking the building blocks of life. Officially, its goal is science. Unofficially, it carries the hope of revelation. What if it finds not just chemistry, but technology? What if it records structures no geology can explain? Titan forces us to stretch our imagination. It is not a world of water and warmth, but of cold and methane. Yet life may thrive there. Civilizations may have flourished and perished, leaving silent markers. And whether natural or artificial, Titan reminds us that the solar system is not barren. It is full of worlds, each with its own story. When you stand beneath the night sky and look toward Saturn, know that one of those faint points of light is Titan. Behind its haze, beyond its methane seas, lies a world of forgotten possibilities. A world that may hold the echoes of civilizations not like ours, but no less real. A world waiting for us to remember. We often take it for granted, glowing each night above us, pulling the tides, lighting our darkest hours. The moon feels like a constant, as though it has always been there. Yet our moon, the most familiar object in the night sky, may be the greatest mystery of all. For centuries, poets have sung to it, lovers have sworn under it, and scientists have studied it. But the closer we look, the stranger it becomes. And when we consider it in the same breath as Europa, Titan, Iapetus, and Phobos, we must ask the unsettling question: could even our own moon hold traces of forgotten civilizations? Let us begin with its origin. For decades, scientists have debated how Earth acquired its only natural satellite. The leading theory, known as the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that billions of years ago, a Mars-sized body collided with Earth. The debris from that cataclysm eventually coalesced into the Moon. But this explanation, while popular, raises new puzzles. Why is the Moon's composition so similar to Earth's outer layers, yet lacking heavier metals that should have been present in the debris? Why is it perfectly positioned to create total eclipses, its size and distance aligning so precisely with the Sun? To some, these are coincidences. To others, they hint at something more deliberate. Then there is the matter of its orbit. The Moon always shows us the same face, locked in perfect synchronicity. Its orbit stabilizes Earth's rotation, moderating our climate, preventing wild swings that could devastate life. Without the Moon, Earth might be a very different world. Could it be that our Moon is not merely an accident of cosmic violence, but something placed, or captured, with purpose? Ancient myths often treated the Moon not as eternal, but as a newcomer. Certain Native American traditions speak of a time before the Moon existed. The ancient Greeks told of a people, the Proselenes, who lived before the Moon. Even in parts of Africa, myths describe an age when two brothers stole the Moon and set it into the sky. Are these merely stories, or do they preserve a distant memory, that the Moon was not always there? When Apollo missions finally reached the Moon in the late 1960s and 70s, they brought back not only rocks but questions. Seismometers placed by astronauts recorded something extraordinary. When lunar modules crashed onto the surface, the moon rang like a bell, reverberating for hours. Natural bodies usually dampen vibrations quickly. The moon did not. This led some to speculate it might be hollow, or at least structured in ways that natural geology cannot explain. NASA scientists at the time admitted their surprise. Though mainstream explanations involve its fractured, dry crust, the phrase "hollow moon" entered the imagination, and it has never quite left. There were also curious anomalies during the Apollo era. Astronauts reported strange lights on the horizon, flashes and glows that could not easily be explained. Long before Apollo, telescopic observers on Earth had occasionally recorded similar transient lunar phenomena, sudden lights, glows, or mists appearing on the moon's surface. Were these eruptions of gas, meteor impacts, or something else entirely? Even some of the craters raise questions. Many are remarkably shallow given their width, as if something beneath the surface prevented impacts from digging deeper. And then there is the sheer improbability of its placement. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but it is also about 400 times closer. This near-perfect ratio creates total solar eclipses, a phenomenon unique in our solar system. To many, this is a cosmic coincidence. To others, it feels like design. Speculation has flourished around these oddities. Some suggest the moon could be an ancient spaceship, a megastructure disguised as a natural body. Others imagine it as a vault, placed in orbit by an earlier civilization to stabilize Earth and preserve life. More cautious theories still see it as a natural object, but one that may contain within it traces of forgotten history, buried beneath dust and regolith. Consider this: the moon has no atmosphere, no wind, no rain. Erosion is almost non-existent. Anything left on its surface could last millions, even billions of years. A simple artifact, a structure, even writing carved into stone, could endure there long after it vanished on Earth. And yet, we have explored only a tiny fraction of its surface. The Apollo missions landed in just 6 small regions. Vast stretches of the moon remain unseen up close, unvisited, unexplored. What secrets might lie in those untouched places? In 1976, Soviet lunar missions returned samples that hinted at water in the lunar soil, something no one expected at the time. Decades later, further studies confirmed there is indeed water ice in craters near the poles, locked away in eternal shadow. If water exists, if the moon has more complexity than we imagined, then perhaps it holds other surprises as well. Even stranger are reports of structures. Amateur astronomers have occasionally claimed to see geometric formations on the surface, towers, or domes that appear briefly before vanishing in shifting light. NASA's own photographs from orbit have fueled speculation, images of odd shapes, shadows, or patterns that some interpret as artificial. While most can be explained as tricks of light, the possibility lingers in the imagination. Could the moon itself be not just a satellite, but a monument? If we imagine for a moment that an ancient civilization once flourished in the solar system, the moon would be the perfect place for them to leave a message. Visible from Earth, unchanging, enduring, it would serve as both a billboard and a time capsule. Perhaps what we see as craters and ridges are merely natural features. Or perhaps, hidden among them, are markers we have yet to recognize. The moon also carries with it a profound psychological power. It influences dreams, myths, and cycles. Its phases have guided calendars for millennia. It seems almost designed to be a companion, a silent witness to human history. And if it has always been there, then it has watched us from the very beginning. But if it arrived later, as some myths suggest, then its very presence may represent an intervention, a deliberate act by forces unknown. Whatever the truth, the moon is more than a rock in the sky. It is a mystery. It is both familiar and alien, comforting and unsettling. And whether natural or not, it may hold within it traces of civilizations forgotten, not in distant galaxies, but right above our heads. Someday, humans will return to the moon, not just for flags and footprints, but for exploration on a grand scale. Perhaps we will drill deeper, explore the far side, map every crater, and uncover what lies beneath. When that day comes, we may discover that the moon is not what we thought. Perhaps it is simply a natural body with quirks. Or perhaps it is something far greater, a monument placed in orbit as a reminder, a beacon, or a vault of knowledge left by those who came before. Until then, each time you look up at its pale glow, remember, the moon is not just Earth's companion. It is a riddle carved into the night sky. And the answer to that riddle may change everything we think we know about our place in the universe. As we journey farther outward, past Jupiter and Saturn, we arrive at the dim realms of Uranus and Neptune, the ice giants. These worlds drift at the edge of sunlight, shrouded in mystery. Few spacecraft have ever visited them. Voyager 2, in the 1980s, offered our only close glimpses, revealing planets wrapped in storms and surrounded by strange families of moons. What Voyager showed us was not a dead frontier, but worlds alive with enigmas. Among those enigmas, two moons stand apart: Miranda, the broken jewel of Uranus, and Triton, the captured wanderer of Neptune. Both defy our expectations. Both hint at stories older and stranger than we can yet comprehend. Let us begin with Miranda. At only 470 kilometers across, Miranda is a small world, barely more than an asteroid. Yet its surface is like no other in the solar system. When Voyager 2 passed by in 1986, scientists were astonished. Miranda looked shattered, torn apart and stitched back together. Giant cliffs, some taller than Mount Everest, cut across its face. Vast canyons, intricate ridges, and patchwork regions made it appear less like a natural moon and more like a mosaic, assembled piece by piece. How could such a tiny moon bear such scars? Some suggest Miranda was shattered by colossal impacts and reassembled by gravity. Others propose intense internal activity, reshaping the crust in violent upheavals. But to the eye, Miranda looks like a relic of deliberate design, blocks and patterns that evoke architecture rather than geology. One canyon, Verona Rupees, stretches 20 kilometers high, the tallest cliff in the solar system. If you leapt from its edge, it would take nearly 10 minutes to reach the bottom in Miranda's weak gravity. Such extremes inspire awe, but also suspicion. Why does this small, forgotten moon bear the scars of such violence? Was it a laboratory of geology, or something else, broken and rebuilt long ago? Now let us drift outward, to Neptune and its greatest moon, Triton. Unlike most large moons, Triton does not orbit in the same direction as its planet's rotation. Instead, It travels backward, in what astronomers call a retrograde orbit. This is not normal. It suggests Triton did not form around Neptune at all. Instead, it was captured, drawn in by Neptune's gravity, stolen from elsewhere in the solar system, or even beyond. Triton is massive, nearly the size of Pluto, and its capture would have been a catastrophic event. Some scientists believe its arrival may have destroyed Neptune's original moons. Today, Triton is locked in place, circling its planet like a stranger bound in chains. But its surface reveals even greater mysteries. Voyager 2's images showed a young world, covered in smooth plains, ridges, and strange, melted features. Most startling of all were geysers, jets of nitrogen gas erupting from beneath the ice, soaring kilometers into the sky. Triton, like Europa and Enceladus, may harbor a subsurface ocean. If so, it is an ocean locked beneath a frozen crust, warmed not by the sun, but by tidal forces as Neptune's gravity squeezes it. In that ocean life could exist, life perhaps unlike anything we know. And if Triton came from beyond Neptune, perhaps even from the Kuiper belt at the edge of the solar system, then its ocean may carry chemistry untouched by the inner planets. It could be a time capsule, preserving not only life, but traces of civilizations that once existed in distant places, carried with it into Neptune's grasp. Consider this: if Triton was captured, where did it come from? The Kuiper belt is a vast region of icy worlds, remnants of the solar system's birth. But what if some of those worlds were not just remnants, but homes? Civilizations rising and falling in the outer dark, leaving behind monuments of ice and stone. If Triton was once such a world, then its capture by Neptune may have preserved fragments of its history, frozen beneath its crust, waiting for us to uncover. Both Miranda and Triton challenge our sense of what moons should be. They are not smooth spheres. They are fractured, scarred, and strange. Miranda looks rebuilt, as though reconstructed from ruins. Triton looks displaced, stolen from elsewhere, carrying secrets across the void. Neither fits neatly into our models. And when nature refuses to fit, we must consider other possibilities. Imagine, for a moment, a civilization older than humanity, thriving millions of years ago. To survive cosmic time, it might have turned to moons, stable, quiet, enduring. Perhaps Miranda was one of their laboratories, shattered and rebuilt in cycles of experimentation. Perhaps Triton was one of their strongholds, orbiting a distant world before fate tore it away. If so, then these moons are not just anomalies. They are monuments to histories erased from memory. Even in myth, outer worlds carry meaning. Uranus, in Greek legend, was the sky itself, father of the Titans. Neptune, or Poseidon, was the god of seas, ruler of depths. Their moons, Miranda and Triton, seem to embody those myths. Miranda as a sky shattered and reformed, Triton as the sea's mysterious prisoner. Across cultures, myths echo truths, and perhaps they echo here as well. What makes Triton especially haunting is its fate. Because of its retrograde orbit, it is slowly spiraling inward, doomed eventually to crash into Neptune or break apart into a magnificent ring. In cosmic time, it is a temporary moon. Whatever secrets it holds, they will one day vanish. If forgotten civilizations left their traces there, they will not last forever. Time is ticking. Miranda too is fragile, its fractured surface vulnerable to further disruption. Both moons remind us that the solar system is not static. Worlds are captured, shattered, rebuilt, and lost. If we are to seek the truth of forgotten civilizations, we must look now, before these clues are erased. The outer moons are hard to reach. No spacecraft has visited since Voyager 2, nearly half a century ago. They wait in silence, shrouded in distance. Yet when we return, and one day we will, we may find more than geology. We may find evidence that the solar system story is far older and richer than we ever dreamed. Until then, Miranda and Triton circle their planets, silent watchers on the edge of light. Broken, displaced, yet enduring, they remind us that history is not only written on Earth. It is carved into ice and stone, across moons that wait for us to remember. When we look for the traces of civilizations, we naturally begin on Earth. We dig into the ground, sift through ruins, unearth pottery, carvings, and bones. Archaeology, after all, is the science of remembering what time has tried to erase. But if there were civilizations before us, civilizations not of Earth but of the solar system, then the question becomes, where would their traces survive? Where would the evidence of their existence endure across millions, even billions of years? The planets themselves are not ideal. Earth is alive with weather, earthquakes, oceans, and erosion. Stone crumbles, metal rusts, and in only a few thousand years, entire cities can vanish beneath soil and forest. Mars, though dry and cold, suffers dust storms that sweep its surface clean, burying features beneath shifting sands. Venus is a hell of heat and pressure, its surface remade by volcanism. Even Jupiter and Saturn, though majestic, are gas giants, worlds of storms, not foundations for monuments. Planets erase memory. Moons, however, preserve it. Moons are stable. Many lack atmospheres, meaning there is no wind, no rain, no erosion. Their crusts are frozen, unchanging, and silent. A structure placed on such a surface could last for millions of years, untouched by time. A probe, a marker, even a single artifact could lie buried beneath dust, waiting for discovery long after its creators were gone. If a civilization wished to leave behind a record, a warning, or a monument, a moon would be the perfect place. There is also the matter of accessibility. Planets are massive, their gravity strong. To land and take off again requires immense energy. But many moons are small, with weak gravity. A spacecraft can land and leave with relative ease. For an ancient spacefaring people, moons would have been natural bases, safe harbors from which to observe planets, mine resources, or travel onward to the stars. Consider our own moon. As we have seen, it has no atmosphere, no weather, and erosion is nearly absent. The footprints of Apollo astronauts remain crisp in the dust, decades after they were made. If they can last for centuries, why not millennia? If another civilization had landed there long ago, their traces too could remain. Even if buried, the lunar regolith preserves, locking artifacts in a timeless vault. Earth forgets. The moon remembers. The same is true, perhaps even more so, for distant moons like Europa, Enceladus, Titan, and Iapetus. Covered in ice, shielded from cosmic radiation, these moons are natural time capsules. If a civilization existed in their oceans, their relics might still rest at the seabeds. If explorers once passed through, they may have left probes or markers, lodged in ice, dormant yet enduring. But why would civilizations choose to leave such traces at all? Some argue that if ancient visitors passed through the solar system, they may have wanted to avoid interfering with humanity's development. Instead of monuments on Earth, they could have left messages elsewhere, hidden, awaiting discovery only when we became advanced enough to find them. Moons, silent and nearby, would be ideal for such secret libraries. There is also the question of survival. Civilizations, like species, can die. Wars, disasters, cosmic events, all can erase cultures and worlds. But a people aware of their fragility might seek to leave something behind. A time capsule, a beacon, a record. Moons are natural vaults for such memory. They are the banks of history, keeping deposits safe against the flood of time. Think of the Fermi paradox, the question of why, in a galaxy full of stars and planets, we see no clear evidence of other civilizations. Perhaps the answer is not that they never existed, but that their traces are not where we expect. We search the skies for radio signals, the planets for ruins. But perhaps the evidence is on the moons, waiting quietly, overlooked by our telescopes and probes. Already, we see hints. Phobos, with its hollow-like density and puzzling grooves. Iapetus, with its equatorial ridge and two-tone face. Europa and Enceladus, with oceans that may conceal life. Our own moon, with its hollow ringing and shallow craters. Each anomaly, on its own, can be explained away. But taken together, they form a pattern, whispers of something more. Imagine for a moment a civilization millions of years old, spreading through the solar system. They build outposts on Phobos, laboratories beneath Europa's ice, vaults on Titan, and perhaps even megastructures like Iapetus. Then, disaster strikes. Perhaps it is a war. Perhaps it is a cosmic cataclysm. Perhaps they leave voluntarily, moving beyond the stars. Their worlds go silent. Time passes. Millions of years later, only the moons remain, carrying their traces, waiting for someone new to uncover them. Science fiction. Perhaps. Yet history teaches us humility. For centuries, humanity believed Earth was the center of the universe. We thought the heavens were perfect and unchanging. We thought we were alone. Each time, we were wrong. The solar system continues to surprise us. Why should the possibility of ancient civilizations be dismissed so easily? Even if no civilizations ever arose on these moons, they may still carry messages. Probes from other stars, left to watch and record, could orbit or rest on their surfaces. Scientists like Carl Sagan and Frank Drake once proposed this very idea, that alien civilizations might leave sentinel probes in our solar system, hidden on asteroids or moons, waiting for us to find them. If so, the moons are the likeliest places to search. They are stable, enduring, and near. The forgotten civilizations hypothesis is not only about aliens. It could also be about us. What if humanity itself has risen before, only to fall, our past erased by time? Some theorists imagine cycles of civilization, rising and collapsing, leaving faint traces behind. If such cycles existed, their remains may not be on Earth, where geology buries them, but on the Moon, Mars's moons, or elsewhere. The relics of humanity's earlier chapters, if they exist, could be waiting just beyond our grasp. Whether alien or human, the idea is the same. Moons are the memory keepers of the cosmos. They are the libraries no fire can burn, the monuments no flood can wash away. To find forgotten civilizations, we must read these lunar pages. The challenge, of course, is reaching them. To date, only a handful of missions have touched these worlds. We have landed on our moon, sent orbiters to Titan, flown by Europa and Enceladus. But we have never drilled their ice, never walked their ridges, never opened their vaults. The evidence, if it exists, is still hidden. Someday soon, humanity may change that. Missions are planned to return to Europa, to sample Enceladus's plumes, to fly across Titan's dunes. Japan prepares to bring back samples from Phobos. Each of these missions could stumble upon something unexpected, something beyond science, a relic of forgotten builders. If so, our place in the universe would be forever altered. Until then, the moons wait. They orbit in silence, carrying their secrets, indifferent to our curiosity. Perhaps they are only natural wonders, products of physics and time. Or perhaps they are more. Perhaps they are monuments to civilizations that came before, civilizations erased from memory but not from reality. The forgotten civilizations hypothesis is not a certainty. It is a possibility. But it is a possibility worth considering, for it reshapes how we see our solar system. Not as an empty stage where only humanity performs, but as a vast museum, its halls filled with silent witnesses, waiting for us to remember what has been forgotten. For all the science, all the numbers and measurements, we must also remember that the story of moons is not only a story of geology and physics. It is also a story of human spirit. From the moment our ancestors first gazed into the night sky, the moons of the solar system, though most unseen by naked eyes, have touched us deeply, shaping our myths, our dreams, our sense of time and place. They are not just celestial objects. They are symbols, companions, and, perhaps, reminders. The moon above our heads has long been humanity's most intimate cosmic partner. It pulls our tides, marking the rhythm of seas and seasons. Farmers once planted by its phases, sailors navigated by its glow, and poets sang of its mystery. But more than practical, it is spiritual. The waxing and waning moon mirrors the cycle of life and death, of birth and renewal. Every culture saw in it a reflection of its deepest truths. To some it was a goddess, to others a god, to many a silent guardian. In dreams, the moon often represents the subconscious, the hidden self, the watcher within. How fitting, then, that the very moons of the solar system might also serve as subconscious keepers of the cosmos, storing what the universe itself has chosen not to forget. Just as dreams preserve fragments of memory, perhaps these moons preserve fragments of civilizations, waiting to resurface when we are ready to see them. The concept of watchers runs deep in our psyche. Ancient texts often describe beings who watched humanity from above. The Book of Enoch, a text outside the biblical canon, speaks of watchers, beings who descended to earth, teaching forbidden knowledge. The Sumerians described gods who observed and guided. Even in modern times, tales of mysterious lights in the sky echo this archetype. Why does humanity persist in imagining watchers? Is it because we feel watched? Or is it because, on some deep level, we remember? Moons embody this feeling perfectly. They orbit endlessly, looking down upon their planets like silent eyes. Earth's moon never blinks, always gazing with the same face. Phobos, Deimos, Iapetus, Triton, they too are eyes in the dark, circling, watching, keeping silent vigil. In them, we project our fears and hopes. To some they are empty rocks. To others they are guardians, reminders that we are not alone. Philosophers have long reflected on the relationship between humanity and the heavens. Plato spoke of the stars as living beings, divine intelligences woven into the cosmos. The Stoics saw celestial bodies as manifestations of order and reason. In Eastern thought, the moon often symbolizes balance, yin and yang, light and dark. These interpretations are not science, but they reveal how deeply moons resonate with our inner worlds. Perhaps that is why the idea of forgotten civilizations hidden on moons touches us so powerfully. It is not only about discovering aliens or ancient technology. It is about remembering ourselves, remembering that we, too, are part of something vast and eternal. To think of moons as vaults of memory is to imagine that the universe itself cares about remembering, that it has preserved stories for us to find. The cycles of moons mirror the cycles of humanity. Civilizations rise, flourish, and fall, just as the moon waxes, shines, and wanes. The ruins of Babylon, the temples of the Maya, the pyramids of Egypt, all stand as reminders that nothing lasts forever. Yet the moons endure, circling silently through time. They are like cosmic archivists, holding the memory of ages we have forgotten. Spiritual traditions often teach that nothing is truly lost. Every action, every word, every thought leaves an imprint, a record in the fabric of being. In Hindu philosophy, this record is called Akasha, a cosmic memory field. In some mystical traditions, the stars and moons are said to be gateways to these records, places where memory is stored. Could the moons, in a very real sense, be the physical manifestation of this idea? Time capsules of forgotten epochs, waiting for us to awaken to them? There is also the question of humility. Looking at moons reminds us that we are small. They are ancient beyond our comprehension. They have circled their planets long before humanity existed, and they will continue long after we are gone. To imagine that we might uncover civilizations older than ours on these moons is to confront the truth that we are not the pinnacle, but merely one chapter in a much larger book. And yet, there is comfort in this. If others came before, if they left traces on Europa, on Iapetus, on Triton, then we are not alone in the struggle against time. We are part of a lineage of seekers, explorers, dreamers across cosmic ages. The moons become not only symbols of mystery, but of kinship, reminders that the urge to reach beyond one's world is universal, perhaps eternal. Psychologically, moons hold a quiet power. They are constant, reliable, yet mysterious. They pull at our emotions as they pull at the tides. Their glow has guided rituals, inspired religions, and stirred longings. They are the backdrop of human imagination. And now, as science reveals their oceans, their ridges, their anomalies, the myth and the fact converge. The moon we dreamed of as a goddess may indeed hide truths worthy of gods. The moons we once dismissed as rocks may indeed be vaults of memory. For the seeker lying awake at night, staring at the sky, there is something deeply soothing in this thought. That we are being watched, not with malice but with patience. That the universe itself has placed guardians above us, silent watchers whose role is not to interfere but to endure, to wait until we are ready to understand. Perhaps that is the spiritual lesson of the forgotten moons. Not only that civilizations may have preceded us, but that memory itself is sacred. That nothing is wasted. That even in the cold silence of space, stories remain. And so, when we speak of forgotten civilizations, we are also speaking of ourselves, of our desire to be remembered, to leave a mark that time cannot erase. Moons embody this hope. They are what we might one day become, silent, enduring, carrying memory long after the makers are gone. To study them scientifically is necessary. To honor them spiritually is just as important. For they remind us that the universe is not empty. It is full of memory, full of meaning, full of watchers who never sleep. In their light, we glimpse eternity. In their silence, we hear whispers of stories untold. And in their presence, we feel less alone. We began with a question. What if the solar system's moons are not merely rocks and ice, but silent vaults, guardians of stories far older than we imagine? Over the last hours, we have traveled across these forgotten worlds, from the scarred face of Phobos to the ridge of Iapetus, from the hidden seas of Europa and Enceladus to the orange haze of Titan, from the shattered jewel of Miranda to the wandering Triton. We have looked again at our own moon, so familiar and yet so strange, and asked if even it could carry secrets waiting to be unveiled. And now, at the end of this journey, what remains is not just data or theories. What remains is a feeling, a sense of awe, a quiet realization that we live in a cosmos more mysterious, more alive, more ancient than we dare to admit. The moons remind us of this, each in their own way. They are storytellers, their surfaces carved by impacts, their interiors warmed by tides, their orbits whispering puzzles we cannot yet solve. They are not dead. They are timeless. Think again of Phobos, circling Mars in its doomed orbit. Is it a hollow rock, a captured asteroid, or a relic of something built? It continues to circle, closer each year, like a clock ticking down. One day it will fall. And with it, perhaps, the answers it holds. Think of Iapetus, with its great equatorial wall, dividing light from dark. No other moon bears such a scar. It looks designed, deliberate, like a cosmic symbol carved into the heavens. It waits still, untouched, far from Saturn, observing the ringed planet as though its place was chosen with intent. Think of Europa and Enceladus, their hidden oceans locked beneath ice, spewing water into the void. There, in the darkness, something could still swim, still build, still remember. If civilizations ever arose beneath the ice, their world would be safe, protected from fire and storm. Perhaps they are not forgotten at all. Perhaps they are still there. Think of Titan, vast and hazy, with its seas of methane and its buried ocean. A double world, alien yet eerily familiar, preserving time in its frozen air. It may be the greatest vault of all, an archive of chemistry, memory, and perhaps civilization itself. Think of our moon, the companion of every human who has ever lived. Its mysteries endure, the hollow reverberations, the shallow craters, the myths of a time before it shone in the sky. It may be the ultimate monument, placed above us not only to light our nights but to remind us, quietly, that we are part of a story far greater than we know. And think of Triton and Miranda, the broken and the captured, the wanderer and the jewel. Moons that defy explanation, symbols of how the universe preserves history in the strangest places. When we look at all of these together, what do we see? We see not random stones, but a pattern. We see anomalies that repeat: hollowness, strange ridges, unexplained orbits, hidden oceans, myths of watchers, and symbols of guardianship. Science explains much, but the questions remain. Could it be that these moons are more than natural curiosities? Could they be the remnants, the markers, the silent libraries of civilizations lost to time? The thought changes everything. If it is true, then humanity is not the first. We are inheritors, latecomers to a stage where others once stood. Their traces are still here, not in distant galaxies, but right above us, circling quietly in the dark. And if it is not true, if the moons are only natural wonders, then they are still reminders of how strange and creative the universe can be. Either way, they expand us. They open our imagination. They teach us humility. There is something deeply comforting in the idea of forgotten civilizations. It means we are not alone, not even in time. It means others have walked before us, struggled, dreamed, and reached beyond their world. It means the urge to explore is not uniquely human, but cosmic, written into the very fabric of life. It also gives us hope. If civilizations before us could leave traces that endure for millions of years, then perhaps we, too, can endure. Perhaps what we build, what we create, will not vanish when we are gone. Perhaps our story, too, will be remembered. Maybe not on Earth, where time erases, but on the Moon, on Mars, on Titan, where time preserves. So, what lesson do the forgotten moons leave us with? Perhaps it is this: memory matters. Survival is not only about living, but about leaving something behind. And the universe, vast as it is, provides places where memory can be kept. Silent, stable, eternal. As you close your eyes tonight, think of those moons. Picture Europa, its cracked ice glowing in starlight. Picture Titan, shrouded in orange haze. Picture our own moon, calm and bright, gazing down with its ancient face. Imagine that within them, beneath them, around them, are stories, civilizations waiting to be remembered. And let that thought carry you, gently, into dreams. For perhaps, when we dream of watchers in the sky, when we dream of gods descending from the heavens, when we dream of civilizations older than time, we are not simply imagining. We are remembering. And one day soon, when our spacecraft reach deeper, drill farther, and look closer, we may finally awaken to what the moons have been keeping for us all along. The forgotten moons are not truly forgotten. They are waiting. Waiting for us to remember. Waiting for us to listen. Waiting for us to take our place among the eternal story of the cosmos.